This is Newport News Station.
This is Newport News Station.
This is Newport News Station.
And this is Newport News Lee Hall, also in Newport News.
Amtrak has served these 4 stations at different points in time since its inception, but never more than 2 at the same time. And weirdly enough, all of these former stations still at least partially exist. So,
stop moving our train station!
So you might be wondering, why does Newport News have 3 disused train stations? Where are those train stations? And couldn't you just rebuild a new station on the old site? Well, lucky for you, you get to find out in this video. As you may have already noticed, for this video I'm joined by Tyler Alberico, so go check out his channel if you haven't already. His content focuses more on the urbanism side of things rather than just transportation, but you'll probably like his videos too. Newport News is a city of about 185,000 people, located in the Hampton Roads region of Virginia. Considering that the region has well over 1 million people, having intercity rail service here makes sense. Currently, all trains to and from Newport News are Amtrak Northeast Regional services, traveling via Richmond and Washington to and from points north. But this wasn't always the case. In fact, passenger rail service to Newport News started all the way back in 1881, with the opening of the Chesapeake and Ohio's, or C&O's, extension east from Richmond. In addition to providing normal passenger service, the C&O line to Newport News also served as a vital link to the Hampton Roads port of embarkation for the U.S. military in the First and Second World Wars, transporting troops and supplies to the coast. The C&O, in linking Newport News and Hampton to points inland, also enabled easier freight shipment, which would have opened new economic opportunities for the local area. Of the 4 train stations we'll be covering this video, C&O passenger trains served Lee Hall as well as the downtown Newport News station at 23rd Street. All passenger rail service in Newport News was eventually taken over by Amtrak after its formation in 1971. And while the C&O served other stations in earlier years, Amtrak only ever served 4 stations in Newport News: 23rd Street, Lafayette Square, the Newport News Transportation Center, and Lee Hall. Now, if you're not from the area, you may be surprised to learn that none of the 4 stations we're covering in this video are near each other. It's not like they kept rebuilding the same station in the same general area. Rather, the 4 locations are spread throughout the 22-mile-long city. The former 23rd Street station is, as you might expect, on 23rd Street, which is in downtown Newport News. This is the first station in Newport News that Amtrak ever served. The former Lafayette Square station is along Warwick Boulevard near Huntington Park. This station replaced 23rd Street station. The Newport News Transportation Center replaced Lafayette Square station and is located much further away from downtown next to Bland Boulevard near the airport. And Lee Hall was all the way at the northern end of the city, though when it was served by Amtrak, it only ever served as a secondary station for Newport News.
Although the 23rd Street station in downtown Newport News is the first station Amtrak served here, this isn't even the first station on this site. This building behind me opened in 1942, replacing a station built by the C&O in 1889, which in turn replaced a building that was here even before that. So this is the 3rd 23rd Street station. As you can see, it's a pretty simple building. Unlike the other stations we'll be covering, this one doesn't have any tracks anymore. You might be asking, where's the platform? The real question you should be asking is, where's the pier? The 23rd Street station is pretty unique, as trains pulled into a train set directly on a pier. In the era of Amtrak, this pier simply saw train service. But before 1950, this odd boarding situation was a feature of this station. Now, if you were arriving here on your C&O train, getting off at Newport News was simple. You could wander right into downtown, or maybe, if you're in the right era, catch a streetcar. But if you were continuing south across the river into Norfolk, the train would drop you right next to the ferry that would take you there. It was literally a cross-platform transfer between a train and a boat. Unfortunately, Amtrak served this station well after the ferry service ended, and only used the station for about 10 years, until 1981.
During those 10 years, Amtrak ran a few trains toward the north and west out of this station via the same line west to Richmond that is used today.
Ignoring the ferry connection, because Amtrak unfortunately never had one here, this station sits on kind of the edge of downtown, and it's a little awkward. On the one side, you have a lot of industry, and on the other side, you go down and haven't seen better days. The station itself was a restaurant for a while, but now it's just sitting here. So, hey, Newport News, is it time for a second rail museum? But if downtown were built back to what it used to be, the station location would actually be pretty great. They could easily route some Hampton Roads transit buses down here for the Newport News Transit Center, setting up for some decent routes with the Newport News and going to Hampton. Though if they rebuilt the station today, it may be worth pushing it further into downtown and surrounding it with some new, context-sensitive development. Now just imagine that Amtrak threw a ferry to Norfolk. Now that would be cool. Very cool. Alright, to explain what this section is, we are ranking the stations on a rating scale from 1 to 29. Honestly, So 29th is the best for context. I would maybe give this, if this were a downtown as it was, surrounding the station, having buildings all around, streetcar service, honestly, probably 27, 28 out of 29 with the ferry across the water. Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, I agree. The theoretical bar in the 20s out of 29. As it stands present day, parking garage, coal pile, naval facility, asphalt in general. I don't know. People work here, I guess, so 8 out of 29, but there's really not much else happening.
The station that replaced the 23rd Street station is Lafayette Square. Sort of. To start, it's about 3.5 miles, or roughly 5.6 kilometers, north of the 23rd Street station at 9304 Warwick Boulevard. But like the 23rd Street station, this location was also once served by the C&O, though the station building itself was built for Amtrak when it brought passenger service back to the station when making the move here from the 23rd Street station in 1981.
This is the former Lafayette Square station, or it was. It's just boarded up. And yes, this station actually has a name. I never saw it used on any Amtrak tickets or official media, necessarily without passenger characters, but I think Newport News Lafayette Square station has a nice ring to it.
Don't worry, there's still this lovely sign in the middle of Warwick Boulevard.
This station saw Amtrak service from October of 1981 until August 21st, 2024, which means it was the station that served Newport News for the longest period of time, which also means it saw a lot of name changes, route changes, and everything that happened with Amtrak in the 90s and early 2000s.
For starters, the station saw service on the Colonial.
And a whole bunch of other trains. There was a whole bunch of renaming and rerouting in the 1980s and 1990s, but for the purposes of this video, just know that all trains went to Richmond and then somewhere else, or sometimes just Richmond. Eventually, after a bunch of the name changes, the station started seeing Northeast regional train services, which is, of course, what we have today.
If you ask me, Virginia Amtrak trains should probably have their own name just because they go so much further than Washington, D.C.
See, I'd love if Amtrak brought back the Tidewater name or the Twilight Shoreliner. Both have a pretty nice ring to them.
Lafayette Square might be uglier than its Pickford Street station, but it makes up for it by also being in a worse location. There's a busy road that's plenty difficult to cross on foot, some offices, a park, a museum, but there's not much else around.
It was basically just a small waiting room with some vending machines and bathrooms. It was a staff station, and staff was ready to help with boarding and deboarding trains. Now, the platform was pretty long, but it was low level, so boarding took a lot longer than you would at a level platform. But when I was a passenger at the station, I almost always just waited outside, since there was basically no space inside. And I was actually on the last train ever out of the station in 2024, so if you want more Newport News Amtrak content, go give that video a watch. Alright, so quick little land use review out of 29. I'm going to say 8 out of 29. I mean, the station has no pedestrian access. There's not much nearby. There's some stuff. There's a 7-Eleven. There's an antique shop down the street. It's not a great environment. There's 5 lanes of traffic right here. Pretty high speed. It's just not the most pleasant place for a train station.
Yeah, I agree. I'm probably going to go 12 out of 29, just because generally of all of the options in Newport News, it's still a little closer to downtown, a denser area with potentially more people, and it's closer to Hampton still than other areas in Newport News, so you're still just generally serving the region a little better, even if the station is ugly and awful, and the station area isn't amazing, it's still better than some other options.
And furthermore on what phenomenal planning this was, you can't make a left into the station off of eastbound Warwick between 3 and 6 p.m. The train, when it left this station, left at 3:45. So if you're showing up half an hour before your train, you're going to have to go make a U-turn somewhere or change your route. So it's like the station access was just not convenient.
A video covering the Amtrak stations of Newport News wouldn't be complete without Lee Hall. Uniquely, this station was never Newport News' sole Amtrak station, which makes sense given that it's located at the far northwestern end of the city. Interestingly, Lee Hall is also the oldest station on our list, having been built in the 1880s and added onto later. Lee Hall is so far from downtown Newport News, about 17 miles or about 27.4 kilometers from the 23rd Street station as the crow flies, that an old notice about the beginning of Amtrak service to the station in 1977 in the Amtrak News Employee Newsletter mentions the station location relative to nearby Williamsburg and Fort Eustis and even Richmond, which is even further away, without making any mention of the station being within Newport News city limits, which it had been since 1958 when the city enlarged its borders. And if the station were still in service today, passengers would be able to connect to Williamsburg-WADA bus network with buses to both Williamsburg and Yorktown, as well as to the very northwestern edge of local Hampton Roads transit bus service. Lee Hall was active as an Amtrak stop from 1977 to supposedly sometime in the 1990s. The last timetable I found with Lee Hall was from 1992 and one from 1993 omits the station. But the historical plaque at Lee Hall says passenger service ended in the late 1970s. I'm inclined to believe, however, that the stop actually existed until the 1990s, even if the station building itself wasn't open, as Amtrak listed Lee Hall specifically as a station where trains would stop only upon request in that 1992 schedule. If you want to look into this on your own, I'll link to my research sources in the description. Anyways, back to the station.
This is the station. It's a quaint little building, but Amtrak used to use it as a flag stop. That means trains would only stop upon request. Today, it lives on as a museum.
And it's a pretty nice museum, although Lee Hall really doesn't feel like it's in a sizable city like Newport News. It just feels small and rural and kind of like the city just moved on without it.
This was almost certainly a food line at some point, and this is an old local store. But there's still a post office, a Dollar General, the bus stop with service to Newport News, Yorktown, and Williamsburg, the Lee Hall Depot Museum, and a few other historic buildings.
And while we've talked a lot about Amtrak moving stations, Lee Hall Depot was physically moved. So back in 2009, CSX said it was too dangerous to be close to the tracks, so the city took it upon themselves to move the building to where it sits today. And that's quite an impressive feat for such an old building.
Interestingly, according to a sign and photograph at the museum, Amtrak served Lee Hall exactly one time in 2009 to let some special guests off to celebrate the moving of the train station building. So if you pay them enough money and happen to be throwing a railroad-themed event, maybe they'll let you off here.
But for everyone else to get here on transit, you'll have to take a bus. Interestingly, Lee Hall has direct buses to both the current Newport News and Williamsburg Amtrak stations, so if you want to take a train trip to get here, you still can. It'll just involve a bus segment.
Alright, so just kind of walking around Lee Hall, as we've done for the other stations, we're going to rank it somewhere between 1 and 29. So, I don't know, we've got the actual station building, we've got post office, abandoned food line, well it's not abandoned, there's a store in there now, and then a little like bed and breakfast across the street, but I don't know, what do you think?
My opinion is what built environment.
That's true.
Yeah. We are in the city of Newport News right now.
City.
Sure. Yeah. I'll give it two answers for the number. Quaintness, 29. Serving anything? 4? Yeah.
Yeah. I would say if it still had an Amtrak station, I don't know. Quaintness, yeah, I think 29 for quaintness. 29 for station building. I mean, it's a phenomenal little building, and the chassis caboose out front's lovely. But I mean, yeah, if it were still a train station, the fact that it has a bus transfer convenient to it, like maybe I don't know. Do I want to give it a 10? 10 out of 29. I think it's a little more generous, but 10 out of 29. I think for me.
This is what I mean when I say what built environment. This building has been abandoned for decades. This station, if it were one, it wouldn't be serving anything.
The last and newest station on our list, and the only one currently served by Amtrak, is the Newport News Transportation Center at 500B Bland Boulevard. And it's in between Lee Hall and Lafayette Square, about 11 miles or 17.7 kilometers from the old 23rd Street station downtown. The Newport News Transportation Center is the newest and sole active Amtrak station in Newport News. It opened on August 22, 2024 to replace Lafayette Square Station, which was about 7.7 miles or about 12.4 kilometers south-southeast of here. The first train to the new station arrived with much fanfare that morning, with camera crews on the platform and everything. Free Amtrak Virginia sunglasses were given to passengers on this first train, and some people were there from the Visit Newport News organization handing out information and coupon booklets for things to do around the city.
And as someone who was on that very first train into this new station, I can say it was a pretty cool experience. Now, it's worth noting as a side note, the Lafayette Square station was still served by Amtrak throughway buses as an intermediate stop on their way south, because I think people just had their cars parked at the old station and Amtrak didn't move them. So for a few days, it was only a bus stop, weirdly enough.
The new station building is striking. It has a modern and comfortable waiting room, and most importantly, a full train-length high-level platform. That means you don't have to walk through half the train to get to your seat. You could just get on any door. And if you have any kind of mobility limitations, there's no step up. Just walk straight on. It's faster and more accessible. There's also a dedicated bus bay for rail replacement, Amtrak Thruway, and local transit buses. That's a huge improvement over the old station. Transit buses stopped on both sides of a busy road, and connecting buses just pulled into the parking lot like everywhere else.
It's also very close to Newport News Williamsburg International Airport, and it only goes to Charlotte. Very exotic.
Now you might be thinking, the new station is in the middle of the city, so it should serve more people and be more convenient and a kind of center of development and commercial activity, right?
Wrong! Not at all. Look at this. Yeah, you can easily hop in your car and drive to Trader Joe's from here, but there's practically nothing to walk to. It's further from historic Hilton Village, downtown, and the East End. Not to mention, the new station is further from the city of Hampton, which does not have its own Amtrak service. The station just made a whole lot more people's lives a lot more annoying.
Now, you can partially mitigate this by running transit buses to areas that were inconvenienced by the relocation. However, the only local transit bus that actually serves the new station is the Hampton Roads Transit 108, which runs from Lee Hall to Riverside Hospital. It doesn't even go by where the old station used to be. And it only serves the northern half of the city on an hourly schedule when trains are running. That's simply unacceptable. Lafayette Square had local bus service to both downtown and Denby every half hour. You know, that's not great, but that's still better than what you get here. And if you ask me, the 106 and 107 are much better bus routes than the 108.
It also brings to mind an anti-downtown attitude Newport News has had for the better part of a century at this point. Is it a coincidence that the station will move to a wealthier, more suburban part of the city? Or was this all a political move to make it harder for people living around downtown to get around?
I honestly don't know if we can say for sure. Now, moving the one and only Amtrak station to here is definitely deserving of ample criticism. In an article from the newsroom of the Virginia Passenger Rail Authority, the new station is heralded as a good thing, right? Newport News warrants having a station up here because a lot of people live on the side of the city. Farther from downtown, there are plenty of people who live here. Now, I try not to get political on the channel, but this article includes a very interesting quote from Newport News Mayor Philip Jones about the opening of the station. And I quote, "The Newport News Transportation Center is a landmark achievement for our city and a testament to the power of collaboration. This state-of-the-art facility not only enhances our region's connectivity, but also reflects our commitment to providing an exceptional travel experience for all."
But we generally agree with this statement, except for the last bit. Moving the station somewhere that's further from older parts of the city and somewhere without reasonable transit connections to those formerly better served areas is the exact opposite of better connectivity and serving all people.
Now, I get that the mayor probably said something like this because what else are you going to say when you open a new train station? It's an objectively good thing. But the older station was just more convenient for more of the city. And now the mayor commented on greater connectivity for the rest of the region. I'm sorry, does the city of Hampton not exist? They don't have any rail service, so Newport News is their de facto home Amtrak station. I don't quite understand how moving the train station away from people means serving more people more conveniently.
It's also worth mentioning that the move should supposedly have made it cheaper for Amtrak to operate in Newport News, because Amtrak can do some storage and maintenance work in the new station property without needing to acquire space from CSX. Though post-COVID, who knows if those costs are actually any cheaper.
For a time, there was talk of building 2 new train stations for Newport News, one about here and one downtown. Now, Newport News is 20 miles long, and that very much warrants having 2 train stations, in my opinion, because the population is quite spread out. But picking here as the one and only spot, it's a pretty questionable decision. Plus, that new downtown station would have been a lot closer to a lot of Hampton. So, if you want regional connectivity, that would have been your better option. Alright, so our last station review of this video from, I guess, 1 to 29. What are your thoughts?
So remember what I said about Lee Hall? I was wrong. It gets much worse. I was being hyperbolic, alright, with Lee Hall. There's actually nothing around.
Here, I'll just give you the camera. Here, why don't you show everyone?
Sure, alright.
Uh-huh.
This is it. This is our decision making. This opened last year, right?
2024.
Oh, 2024. This was our decision making in 2024. After all of the foresight we've had building train stations in the world, this is the location that they decided. That is confounding to me. So it gets a 1 out of 29, and I'm going to bump Lee Hall up to a 10 out of 29.
Do I want to say it's definitely a 1 for land use here? Station building, great. I really have no complaints about the building other than maybe it's a little weird, but like other than that, the platform's great. The lounge seating, the lounge style seat, it's not a lounge, but it's like, it feels like a lounge, but like you're in coach and they don't have a lounge here, so it's kind of nice. So the actual station building itself,
Probably 20 out of 29. There's no amenities here, so that's why it's not perfect. So it's only about 2/3. Land use is awful. So, but that's really my largest complaint about the station. Is it's in the middle of nowhere, and it's in a city. Lee Hall's in the middle of nowhere, but at least Lee Hall has stores and things.
And abandoned stores.
And
You
bus
can at least
service.
see- Yeah. And remember, it's not an ugly station. It's a
not an ugly-
striking
It's a
station.
striking station
Yes,
here.
It's different.
Lee Hall's better.
Yeah.
But like less convenient than this one for most of the city, so
Yeah.
whatever. This is a rant at this point.
It's a needed rat. So what can Newport News do to fix the issues of inconvenience and worse connectivity for much of the city? For one, it could build that second station downtown. It probably wouldn't be too unreasonable to build a connection from the station track back to the main line in the direction of downtown, and the downtown station could be put in any number of pieces of empty or underdeveloped land in downtown.
Alternatively, Newport News can route local buses into the train station. Routes 106 and 107 run up and down Warwick Boulevard, just nearby, and the 112 runs along Jefferson Avenue on the other side of the interstate with peak service of every 15 minutes. So that wouldn't be bad to have at a train station, right? And unlike the 108, the 106, the 107, and the 112 all serve Newport News Transit Center downtown, which has Hampton Roads transit bus connections to Hampton, Norfolk, and other destinations on the south side. Not to be confused with Newport News Transportation Center, which is where we are now. A great name for a great station. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. Why did they pick Newport News Transportation Center as the name for this building? If we wanted to just be specific, we could have said Newport News Amtrak Station. And if we wanted to be even more specific and fancy, we could have called it Newport News Plant Boulevard Station. But no, instead we had to pick a name almost identical to the bus station downtown. So all in all, have these moves been a net positive for the city? If you ask me, I'd say no. The land use here is awful, and it's not really near much.
Other parts of the city now see more limited access to transportation as a result of this whole process. The simplest solution is rerouting buses closer to the new station at the cost of only a few minutes of travel time, but that's not what happened.
Instead, we got a nice station with a large parking lot, no transit-oriented development, no nearby grocery stores, restaurants, housing, nothing. And did we mention that about half of the station's immediate area is an interstate highway right-of-way?
Newport News could have been a lot better off having a station in or closer to downtown while adding a secondary station at the planned Boulevard location. I'm not going to complain about an Amtrak accessible Trader Joe's, but that can't come at the cost of an Amtrak accessible Monty's Penguin.
But if we have to have just one Amtrak station, it should be the one downtown. Or at least one with decent transit service. But those are just my thoughts, so let me know what you think in the comments. Alright, so for concluding thoughts, did you have anything?
After touring train stations for a day in Newport News, my conclusion is they all suck, and we need to bring downtown back and build a train station parity.
This makes sense. I would agree. I think this is probably the best station the city had, at least in terms of location, not in terms of facilities. The one that was here before was probably nicer. But the ones we have today, they're just, or the one we have today, rather, it's just not that convenient. With all that being said, thank you, as always, so much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, and or subscribe if you are so inclined. And subscribe to Tyler. Do you have anything to add?
I upload I upload anywhere from 0 to 4 times a year. Right now it's 0.
Hopefully soon it'll be like 30.
Yes,
30 times a year.
Oh, nope, I thought you
30.
said 3.
30.
Okay, bye.
And I think that just about wraps it up for this massive project. Thanks again to Tyler for joining me for this video, coming on site to all these stations, and for also editing the wind out of the majority of these clips to make it actually possible to hear what we were saying. So thank you. And stay tuned for the blooper reel, which starts now.
Wrong. Not at all.
Now, if you ask me, the trains to Virginia on the Northeast Corridor should have different names, so I'd really love if Amtrak brought back the Tidewater or Twilight Shoreliner. That's a name.
That is an awesome
This
name.
is going in the blooper reel.
Hi, I'm making a sound test and I'm saying things, and it's very great that I'm saying a lot of words right now to test the sound, and it's I'm having many insightful and important things to say, and I think that you should subscribe to my channel, and I think 29 down the line makes objectively terrible slop content, and I think you should probably find his email address and send him a strongly worded letter about it. I think that might change his approach, scripting and concept. Yeah, that's how I feel.
Please don't be coming this way.
Well, we're
Please.
going over there, right?
No, there's a car.
Oh.
Please don't turn left. Please. Okay. That's. Okay, he's just doing the park. That's fine. That's allowed. That is an allowed activity within Ryan's dictatorship of Newport News.
Oh, I'm still recording. This also brings to mind the... Oh, I said that already, didn't I? Did I say this part already?
Anti-downtown?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oops, okay. Yes, I scrolled back up by accident. All right.
The street behind me was paved in 1732 before asphalt was even invented, as evidenced by potholes.
This is great.
I don't do the script.
No effect. No effect. No effect. I can't say it consistently because I've lived down here
Yeah.
too long,
Uh-huh.
and it messes with my brain. I think you understand the logic. Are you? Okay. Now just imagine an Amtrak throughway ferry to Norfolk. Now that would be cool.
Very cool.
They caught on my belt buckle for a second. And it caught whatever that is. No!
It's not a big deal. It's literally a magnet.
I didn't realize it was gonna be that.
I mean, me neither.
But the ones we have today, they're just, or the one we have today rather, it's just not that convenient.
Yeah.
Good. I think we're good.
Yeah. I upload I upload anywhere from 0 to 4 times a year. Right now it's 0.
Hopefully soon it'll be like 30.
Yes.
30
We'll go
times a year.
Oh, nope. I thought you
30.
said 3. I thought-
30.
okay.
Once-
Bye. I like that as an outro. That's good.